97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Best show ever here on 97.5, The Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia. 610-632-0975. And weird start to the new year and the first show for us on the new year. So let's get right to the opening statements. Going into the night last night, the plan for today would have been a very Eagles heavy show with the Sixers sprinkled in. They've now won 10 of 12, and the Flyers have won 3 in a row, and there might have been a lot of that. But word of the day today is serious. And the reason the word of the day is serious is because of what happened with Damar Hamlin. Now, we always lay out some form of an agenda for the show. And at the end of the day, though, the people are the bosses as far as what we talk about. And if you want to talk about the Eagles today or the Sixers or anything else, obviously we will do that. But watching the game last night as Damar Hamlin, starting safety for the Bills, you saw the play at this point. Thought it was inappropriate how many people kept sharing the video online, especially those who did it after they found out how serious it was for clickbait. At first, I guess people were just trying to show the play because something newsworthy, unfortunately, happened. After that, I thought it was in bad taste the way some people were showing the videos over and over again. But it shows you just how serious collision sports and pro football can be, because that's a type play that's basically unavoidable. And unfortunately, he goes into cardiac arrest. And thankfully, as of now, he's in critical condition, but still with us. And there are some cardiologists, actual doctors, I'm not talking about these conspiracy theorists out there, that he has a chance for a full recovery based on the quick actions by the team medical staff from both teams that quickly jump into action. Many people have said the cliche that outside of bad things happening in a hospital, doing it on the field of an NFL game is one of the better places for something very, very unfortunate to happen. And we obviously hope that Damar Hamlin makes a full recovery in his life. And then football is obviously super secondary. Just as a note, they're not going to resume the game. The Buffalo, they're flying back home like it is what they're not playing this game. They're not going to resume it right now. To me, that game doesn't matter right now. It's all about the health of a player. But we've talked about this on this show, and some people have pushed back on us at times when we've talked about how it's, for me, sometimes with football, I talked about how I don't celebrate the big hits now that I used to. Before, I was just like everybody else and was craving, obviously, the big play, the guy making the big move, the 80-yard touchdown, all those things. But second to that was coming downhill with the big hit. And as I've learned more and I've seen more things personally, and I'm not trying to speak for anybody else or trying to put my morals or values or how I watch football on anybody else that's out there. But when it has hit me wrong for a long time, because unfortunately we started to learn some of the repercussions from those big hits. And it wasn't, oh, the guy broke an arm, which is still bad, a broke a leg, ankle, etc. All that stuff's still bad, but we know that regular people can break an arm or break a leg, and they can recover. We see that in our own lives. Last night was just different. And last night was one of those things that's kind of unavoidable. And when we talk about how dangerous professional football can be, I don't think we take it seriously enough. Not that we shouldn't enjoy football. I'm not telling people not to. What I'm saying is that many times we'll have regular people call the show, go on social media, and talk about how this player's soft. Did you see what happened out there last night? Those players are all tough, and they're crying on that field last night. And that's not because of a lack of toughness. That was because they had an abundance of humanity. That was a human being there who legally passed away on the football field last night. That's what happened. And unfortunately, it is hard for me, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, to be able to just shrug that off and act like that's not a big deal, because the game is inherently dangerous. And there's nothing we can do about it to take the danger out of the game. You can try to make better helmets, and you can do rules changes, you can do all those things, and we'll get into the NFL's reaction. But right away, it was just another reminder of when we watch that sport, I think we all have to be a little careful. It's like Minshew throws an interception, criticize him. That's different. But when we're talking about soft and the things that people say about other people that play that game, I just think it was another reminder that none of us are willing to go out there and have that happen to us. Because no one signs up for that. And we'll get into the reaction and everything else. But Ricky Bo, I think you're like me. The Sixers, other things were on. We weren't necessarily watching it live at that moment. But once you find out what happened, that changes just everything.
Let me put it this way. I was kind of flicking back. I was on the Sixers game, and on the TV you could flip over and look on the right-hand side to see what the score is. And I noticed the time hadn't changed in a while. I'm like, all right, something's wrong. So I go to the football game. All of a sudden, obviously everything comes down from there. But I think it's interesting. One point that you really brought up there that kind of sticks with me is the whole thing about being soft. Because TV does not give this game justice a lot of times. Because when we saw that hit last night, I think the first thing that came to your mind was, okay, that's a routine play in football. But we've also heard that a hit in football is like being in a car crash at 40 miles an hour. So you put both those things together and you get hit in the right spots at the wrong time, these types of things happen. These guys, and this is being factual, they put their health on the line every single play that they are out there. And the understanding of, you want to see hard hitting and this and that, that's just the way football used to be. I think the NFL has tried at times to kind of switch things up. We see the whole forward progress thing. They blow the whistle early now. We see them trying to protect the quarterbacks a lot more. But just sometimes bad things happen. And this was one of those things. And I have no complaints about them postponing the game. I have no complaints about what they did on the field. They had to do that on the field. They saved the guy's life. And to me, that's first and foremost in anything. I don't care what sport. I don't care if it was a Super Bowl. If that happens in it, you have to take care of health first. And they did that. A great job by the paramedics, the doctors that were on the field, everybody that helped out in that type of situation. But, the bottom line here is it is violence. It is controlled violence at times, but there's no taking away from it that it's two missiles looking to hit each other at all times on every play. And when that happens, you're going to get injuries, but something this severe is just something that really takes you back. It makes you sick. As a matter of fact, I had a sick feeling. I had my daughter Olivia calling me, do you think he's going to be all right? I don't know. I don't know. And my first thing was, no, he's probably not going to be all right. That was bad. When something like that happens on a field and then you witness it, firsthand, that's where you kind of get that feeling of helplessness. I think that's the best way to put it. And is there any way around it? I don't know. When you think about it, they're changing the hits, but they're also going to thinner pads. They're going to anything that makes them quicker on the field. When I was a kid, man, they had these huge pads in their uniforms. The shoulder pads were 3 times the size of what they are now. Now all of a sudden everything's sleeker, so you don't take away the speed of the game. But, man, last night was an eye-opener.
So, Hunter, what was your take for what happened last night?
I'm sick, and I still am. And even when we were kind of talking about everything that happened last night before the show, because you just can't escape it, it just made me so uncomfortable thinking about what he had to go through yesterday. And with everybody watching, you go through something like that, his family, his mother, and then, the pictures of the ambulance and the mother waiting to get down. I feel like everybody knows what I'm talking about, where that pit is in the stomach. The moment I woke up, my brain wasn't even there to kind of adjust to everything yet, waking up. And the first thing I did was I went to Twitter to see if the Bills put out anything, to see if any of the beat reporters or anyone who was covering the situation put out any new info. It's all I can think about right now. And, it's not often where in this sports world that something is so massive that games aren't talked about, this and that. It just shows you where this falls on the list of things. It's so much bigger than the sport. And I really am having a difficult time trying to process anything else that's going on because of how serious this is. I'm still scared to this moment. And it's so sad. It really is. It's so sad. And I'm in pain thinking about it.
Yeah. No, here's another thing that's so tough. I remember when the book, not the Will Smith movie, the book came out. I remember that the NFL was supposed to have a protocol for situations like this in 1994. That's when the first time an independent doctor said, with this, the way this game is being played, because I think the only time this has happened where a player passed away was 1971. I think it was a player who was from Philadelphia originally. He wasn't playing for the Eagles where this happened, where a player passed away on the field. Now, obviously, Damar Hamlin's still with us, thank God. But they were supposed to have a protocol, and it was clear last night that the NFL was fully prepared to treat this like Josh Sweat, a situation where it was a neck injury, but he had already talked to his teammates while he's on the board. It stinks. It's terrible. He like Fletcher Cox said, he was laughing with me before he got in the ambulance. So all the Eagles players were like, man, that stinks. But they were able to say, hey, he's okay. I was just talking to him. He was moving his arms. He was moving his legs. The NFL was going to treat someone literally, technically dying just like that.
There should be a rule where if you have to give CPR, the game is suspended or the game is over.
Right,
or,
the CPR rule would be fair.
Come on, somebody's life is in danger, for crying out loud. The game means nothing at that point, especially to his teammates.
Right, and they were fully prepared without the Bengals and the Bills coaches. They were just going to, Joe Buck did not make that up. I know that's the thing now. Unfortunately, they're putting Troy Vincent out front and center because Roger Goodell hides. He'll make a statement, but as far as speaking to people, he's not going to say anything until they find out what the lawyers say and all this kind of stuff. They have more money. If Hamlin's family was to sue him, they could pay him $100 billion and the NFL would not miss the money. Yet, they got to wait to all that stuff before he speaks.
He's a coward.
Yeah, he's just a complete coward. But, they were going to just continue the game. And again, he's back, but his heart stopped on the football field. And they were just going to keep on going, and it makes me want, what are we doing? I know sports are important. I talked about, the murder rate goes up when the Eagles lose. I understand that sports are important, but don't we at some point have to do a better job with our values to where it's pretty clear? Not an hour and a half later, not hour and 45 minutes later. The moment someone's heart stops, we don't keep playing the football game.
They were going to give him 5 minutes to warm up. Seriously, 5 minutes. Did you see Diggs? Did you see his teammates? I mean, they're bawling their eyes out.
They were emotionally gone. That's what I was saying. I mean, if you're on the field and something happens to your teammate, do you really feel like playing a football game?
Of course not.
Now, I don't know if this is too extreme, but I personally feel like I would have a hard time even playing Sunday. And I know that this is more of a longer-term combo, and updates will happen from now until Sunday and all.
Well, you were a little bit busy. No changes as of now to the Week 18 schedule.
Right.
They're not going to resume the Bills-Bengals game this week.
Okay.
That's where we're at the current moment.
I'm not surprised.
That game's not getting resumed. But as of right now, everybody's playing, including those two teams, on Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I'm going to say they knew that last night because the Bills flew out of there last night right after that. You know
the ones that didn't go to didn't stay at the hospital.
Yeah, they left and flew home because I saw video of the plane landing in Buffalo, and there were fans waiting for the team there.
Right.
So, I mean, they knew probably at that point that they weren't playing this anytime soon.
And thankfully, NFL teams are generally playing in larger cities. There was a level 1 trauma center. Apparently there's only one there, but luckily there was one.
2 miles away, too.
So they were able to get to them quick. So as far as one thing we do know health-wise, and these are facts, these aren't conspiracy things, they say that whenever these things happen, they do happen. This isn't the first time this has happened in life. It's just, unfortunately, the first time it's happened in an NFL game that we know of. They say there's a 4-minute clock, usually as far as saving the player's life. We're not talking about him playing football or anything. And thankfully, because it was an NFL game, they were able to start CPR less than a minute after his heart stopped. And they say that usually, doctors say that usually plays a big role. I'm trying to be careful with my words because I don't know what's going to come of this, but at least he will be given the best shot possible to make a life recovery. And that's I guess the silver lining.
A life recovery is exactly what you should have said right there because this is what this is all about today.
Yeah.
That was a life on the line during a game last night. A game. Mind you. A game.
Not war. And I know that they were talking about and we hear it. They're going to war, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, Ryan Clark
was talking about that. No. This is a game. This is entertainment. At the end, this is entertainment. And it was just to me. So I'm sick. If you can't tell, I'm not fully comfortable or past this yet.
You shouldn't be because you saw something that your mind doesn't want to see. And then these jerks on Twitter, and I'm not just talking about one that everybody knows about, but there was a bunch of people on Twitter that were just, I mean, heartless. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah, and we'll get into it. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. 610-632-0975. Let's get a call in. He's been being patient. Robert in Reading, Pennsylvania. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. How are you today, Robert?
Well, today, after what happened tomorrow, first and foremost, I want to pray that, he's healed and restored, in Jesus' name. Other than that, I know there's an evacuation plan. Apparently, if they would have left everybody out, it would have been harder for Damar and the ambulance to come out. So I'm pretty sure that's probably why.
Oh, no. Robert, we're not saying that you wait till he's at the hospital. He didn't take an hour and 45 minutes. The hospital was how many minutes away?
About 3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes away. He was already way in the hospital and they had said that he had a pulse back and he wasn't breathing on his own, and they still hadn't called the game.
Well, just like in the evacuation, they had to have some sort of plan. If they would have had everybody out, it probably would.
No. Once he's at the hospital, you can call the game.
And there's also a way for you to call let's just say that he didn't leave yet. There's still a way to say, hey, we're not going to continue this football game, but no one's allowed to leave yet, so we can make sure that he gets there safe.
Right. What I'm saying, I'm not saying you call it while he's still on the ground. I'm saying once you know he's safely in the hospital, which was about 5 to 7 minutes after they said it or he left the stadium, then you call the game. That's just an excuse being put out there by NFL writers who are trying to get in good with the commissioner.
Got you. Time is yours. Thank you.
No. All right.
Yeah, I was just trying to correct the record factually. It was not.
You were correct.
There's people out there that are trying to say that they didn't want to call the game because they didn't want a traffic jam. That ambulance was way gone. Like think about Lincoln Financial Field for a second.
You're on a street when you go through those tunnels. I don't think people understand that you literally drive through the tunnel. You're on the street.
Right. Like if you're at Lincoln Financial Field and they drive you out of there, and then once you get to wherever, 76, 95, whatever, to get to the hospital or brought whatever it is, and then you said, okay, 70,000 people can leave, you're not catching the ambulance.
No.
You'd be fine.
Yeah, you're not catching the ambulance.
Plus, they had a police escort with the ambulance.
Yeah, the ambulance and the police. You're not. Like, that was something that was, again, last night was put out there because there's some people out there who do not work for the league, who act like they work for the league. Oh, the NFL would never make a mistake. What are you talking? They make mistakes every day.
Especially in this type of situation.
They make mistakes every day. They do the wrong thing constantly. Ducky, Joe, we'll get to you on the other side. 610-632-0975. Back here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. What happened with Damar Hamlin was serious, and I think that the NFL, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, kind of handled it in an unserious way. And I know there are people whose reflex, for some reason, is always to defend the NFL. And I get you like football, and you don't want somebody to take football away from you or criticize it in any way. But we're not criticizing you individually. Like, you liking football doesn't make that situation handled any better. But just so we're clear, once the ambulance had already left, there was no reason to keep the players in there and warm up and restart the game, or to keep 66,000 fans in the stadium. There was just no reason.
We haven't even heard from the commissioner, have we? Has he made any public statement?
Some statement.
Yeah, but not to the fans.
No.
He more or less has sent out statements to the team about what was going on in mental health stuff. That's basically what he sent out.
But what an opportunity for him to redeem himself a little bit. Get in front of a camera. Go talk to somebody. Talk to us. Talk to the fans. Talk to the Bills. Talk to the Bengals.
Yeah, could you imagine Adam Silver? Like, he would be right in front of it all. He would have spoke last night. He probably would have been on with SVP, Ryan. He would have done something. How are you not speaking to the people about an incident like this?
And you're allowed to say you don't have information. Like, right now, there is no update about Damar Hamlin's health as of right now, other than he's critical. But
that was even from his family.
From his family. That's all we have. That's why we're not speculating on it. What we think happened with the injury, that came from cardiologists, not from us, like, guessing. Cardiologists who have studied the video looked at it and said, this is one of those things where if your heart's beating at a certain time, this kind of hit. And as you mentioned, routine play is relative in football because they say every hit is like an accident at 40 miles per hour. And sometimes people walk away from those accidents with no problem. Other times there's broken limbs. Other times, unfortunately, people pass away. You don't know what's going to happen in a car accident. That's kind of what it's like with a football hit. Even the routine ones, you still have to take serious. And that's the part where I think often with football, there's a disconnect.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep last night. I had it on until like 3 o'clock. I had to force myself to turn it off. It's unbelievable. It's so sad.
What was bothersome, like he popped up after the hit. So you thought, and then, I mean, ton of bricks. I mean, that's not something that you want embedded in your mind. And I think that's what happened. A lot of people right now there were millions of people watching the game, and that's embedded in their minds.
Yeah, because I don't know. Yes, unfortunately, I've had to see someone pass away before. It's not a pleasant thing. And in a way, temporarily, millions of people saw it. And you usually don't see it. And that's, in person. And then all the players, he's right there. They're right there. They're inches away from him. And that's just, and I just don't understand why there was even a consideration to continue to play the game. Yeah. That should not have been, even if the players all said, we want to play, I'd be like, you guys aren't thinking clearly, you're not playing. It should not even have been a consideration to consider playing, in my opinion. And that fraud, I'm not going to say his name, but you know what I'm talking about. He works at a TV network. He used to work at a different network.
He's an ass.
He should be paying, first of all, he should be paying LeBron James like 10% of his check for the last whatever number of years. Every time he gets talking about him, that helped him get famous, ripping him. Like he became a cottage industry. I'm going to get famous talking bad about a player who's about to be the all-time leading scorer in the sport and all this kind of crap. And now he goes there. And then credit to his counterpart, I'm not going to say any names, who didn't show up to work because he shouldn't have to wear what that other guy did. And I want to credit.
I think you could credit him. You could say that.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah,
good on him because he didn't do anything wrong. He was praying like everybody else. And if you don't believe in prayer, whatever, positive vibes, whatever the positive people were doing out there, the vast majority were doing, that's what Shannon Sharp's doing. And this guy's making an ass of himself again. Mm-hmm. And it's just this kind of thing, it exposes how we all, the collective we got to do better where we have to be able to put sports where they belong.
Yeah, I saw some people complaining that if we're not allowed to hit the head anymore, what are we not allowed to hit the chest anymore? And I'm like, that's what you're thinking about right now?
In real time.
You're sick. You're sick.
So, that's a sick thing.
And I brought up the point, you weren't here when I brought up the point that the number one, all the gear is getting thinner. It's getting less so they could run faster and everything's faster. But they are trying to cut back on the hits. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They don't want anybody going after the quarterback's legs. They don't want any late hits on the quarterback. I know it seems like they're going after one person, but it's very noticeable this year on forward progress. They are blowing the whistle almost immediately.
Yeah, because they don't want those late hits, the late guy coming in. Also, when the legs get tangled and you get thrown to the ground, that usually doesn't have such a great outcome. They're trying. But yesterday proved this, and this is my issue. The reason they're trying isn't because they care about the players. The reason they're trying is because they care about their money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yesterday was an opportunity to show we actually care about humans, and they failed again.
I agree.
And that's the problem. They're not taking out those hits because they want to protect the quarterback for their lives. They're protecting the quarterbacks because the league has 32 teams. There's not 32 good quarterbacks as it is. So once you get to the backups, you see around the league, the level of play drops to a level where they care about that. They don't give a damn that Jalen Hurts was hurt. They care that Minshew makes the game less watchable, thus hurting their money. That's what they care about. And you know how you can see that? Look what happened when someone died on their field before being revived, and their response was, at first, just nothing. Like they said nothing, and they were going to play. They were going to play.
Crazy. I even saw after this all happened, I was on social media, some things off, and the Ohio State, some highlight stuff popped up, and I saw the hit to Marvin, and I'm thinking to myself, am I going to be able to, I was so uncomfortable watching that hit after what we saw on that field, and I'm going, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to connect with me moving forward. The sport, you know what I mean? I don't know where I stand.
It's not going to change the game per se,
no,
because
it's
there's
not,
always going to be hitting in the game. The game is violent.
But you're talking about how you react.
How
to
you
those
react
hits.
to the hits, yeah.
Because you're right. There's no taking them out, and nothing dirty happened. I'm not suggesting that there should be a rule change. I'm not even thinking about any of that stuff. But no, what I'm saying is, there's a certain inherent danger that we need to do a better job acknowledging.
Yeah.
So that when we rip a player, we say that player played bad. God forbid we just say that. Minshew shouldn't have thrown that interception. Rather than he's a this, he's a that, he's a blah, 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 blah. It could just be that player played badly. And I wish we could do more of that and less of the questioning of manhood, because we see how tough these guys are. That play could happen to any player at any time, and they still go out there. So if they were soft, they wouldn't be out there.
But those players also know that. That's why the emotions were coming out.
Right.
Because they know it could have been any one of them on the field.
Easily could have been them. Easily. Let's go back to the phones. Ducky in Reading, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hello, Ducky.
Hello, Joe. I agree with you 100%. The NFL blew it last night. There's no question. There's no question they blew it. As soon as that ambulance left, that game should have been called. But I have a suggestion. Maybe it's time to get a chest protector. You know, they changed the helmets around. They tried to work with some of the helmets.
Not at all against that. It's going to be hard to make it mandatory. Like these guys don't even necessarily wear thigh and knee pads the way they used to. We used to have to wear the girdle pads on the hips, the whole shebang. I would not be against that, but they're not going to. Oh, he hung up. I'm not going to know if I'm going to make wholesale changes based on one incident, because I'm not even thinking that far. But if you tell me we want to do something to make players' health safer, I'm not going to say no.
Well, look at Jalen Hurts. He wears the flap jacket all the way up to the shoulder pads. I mean, I guess it would be harder for him to take that hit because he's wearing a lot more protection.
Right. And, I think that young players, in the minors, correct me if I'm wrong, and in college, I know because I see the games, they're all wearing the jaw, like the protector in hockey I'm talking about.
Same thing in baseball now.
Right. I think that they should make it to where if you're currently in the league, you don't have to wear it. But every rookie, wear what you've been wearing. In the NHL, I think every sport.
Oh, yeah. The college hockeys, you have to wear the full cage and the full shield.
Right.
Nowadays, you're not allowed to, except for the grandfather players, can go no visor. Now it's mandatory to go visor, but even that's still dangerous.
And now I'm at the point where all these rookies in the next draft, the Flyers, even though they're on a 3-game winning streak, will likely have a high pick. That player, when they make the NHL, you're wearing the full cage.
The players, but they're not even cages now. They're plexiglass. I mean,
you can do both. The bubble,
I know, but the bubble's probably better.
What I'm saying is that whatever you've been wearing, you'll continue to wear it.
Right.
You're not going to take it off for the league. In all sports, I would be willing to do that and I don't think that takes away from the game.
But it always takes tragedy to make that move. For example, you used to not have to wear helmets for warm-ups. Taylor Hall gets stepped on after he fell. His face was brutal. Mm-hmm. And now it's, hey, you got to wear your helmets. So it's always until something happens. That's when they make the move. It's after something goes down.
And if there's a chest something that could prevent that, and it's not too bulky or whatever, and that could prevent that, make it mandatory. I don't care.
Like the Kevlar.
Yeah, make it mandatory. I don't care. You do it. Do it. What are you waiting on? I'm all for those kind of things. But there's other people that will go, well, that's like putting on a skirt. So.
And there probably are players that would say that.
Well, and my answer would be, all right, well, sometimes we have to protect you from yourself. Like Jalen Hurts, I'm sure, wanted to play right away. Sometimes you have to tell the player always wants to play.
Yeah.
And they want to,
it's their nature.
Right. You took the ball to your detriment. You tell us about it all the time. You took the ball to your detriment.
No doubt about it.
Someone needed to wrap their arms around Ricky and go, hey, Ricky, no.
Right.
And you were playing a non-contact sport.
Right.
But still, your arm was.
Because I wanted to play.
Because you wanted to play. Because that's.
These guys are the same way. They want to be on the field.
Right. And that's where it's just, you respect it. And that's where I think you have to treat them better and reward that you want to reward that mentality with protection. We appreciate that, but this is what we're going to do for you. And last night, that's not what you got. Because these guys were broken up, and they were going to play. I just don't understand.
The look on Josh Allen's face was it for me.
Diggs, same thing.
Diggs crying. Allen was, none of them had seen that before.
Well, it's traumatizing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. These guys went through a mental trauma last night.
Yeah, just go back and play football because the shield. What? Joe in Hazleton, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hi. I was watching last night, and like everybody else, it was a tragedy. But all of the so-called analysts and people that know it all kept saying it's never happened before. And I'm sitting there thinking, did you forget about Chuck Hughes?
Yeah, well,
it was October. It was October 24th, 1971, and I remember the game. He ran out for a pass, came back to the huddle, was heading back to the huddle, fell dead right in front of Mike Ditka, right in front of him, stone cold dead. And yet these analysts kept saying it never happened before.
Joe,
it never happened
I
before.
believe they said, from what I heard, it was they've never seen this before.
Right. And also, was that a national TV game? Was that a regional game? Also,
well, regardless, it was
hold
a
on.
regional game.
Right, Joe, listen to what I'm saying. That happened, doing the math real fast, 52 years ago. That's fair to say, right?
Right.
So how old?
Years ago.
Well, it'd be February.
He was 28.
Right. What I'm saying is, in
28.
February, we're in January, right? So next month, you said it was whatever
October.
it was. All right. So it's 50 years. It's 50 years ago.
51.
Joe Buck is 53. Right. Just to put it in perspective.
He was
of
2
our
years
timeline.
old. So everybody playing there, everybody speaking, everybody, Susie Colbert, all them. For them. It never happened to them. And obviously, all the players are younger than that.
They said it never happened before.
Well, I see,
and they kept saying,
but Joe, why
I
are
think-
you nitpicking
Yeah,
so
right.
much?
Like there's so much that happened after yesterday. I think this falls 1/1000th on the list.
Right. I even mentioned it in the open of the show, and I know he was wasn't he from Philadelphia?
Yes, he was. Right.
It's super tragic that happened. Things get forgotten over time. Thanks for the call. And I don't mean that. What I'm saying is, but in real time, I don't think people are thinking about things that happened when they were 2 years old that they're not aware of or before they were born. In all the players' case, it didn't happen in any of their lifetime. Didn't happen in my lifetime. I mean,
this did happen in a soccer game.
Not from contact.
No, it wasn't from contact.
Yeah, it
and
happened
Chris Pronger, it happened to with a puck to the chest.
We are efforting that, trying to get Chris Pronger on.
Oh, okay.
I mean, no promises. I just when I say efforting, I was like, hey, you guys know people, and I got people asking people to ask people. So I'm working on it, but I'm no promises. I'm just saying we tried.
Yeah,
if anybody out there knows him, we'd love to have him to talk about it. He obviously played 12 years after his incident,
yes,
and that's what you hope for. But right now, it would be wrong for us to speculate that this is going to be an apples to apples thing, and Damar Hamlin's going to get 12 more years in the NFL because we don't know if he's going to get 12 more days. Period. Yet, we hope he does, but we don't know yet. But it happened. I remember I was watching that soccer game. And then he was able to talk to his teammates later that day.
That's incredible.
That was incredible.
That's the thing that bothers me now about what's going on right now is that you can't talk to him. You don't know what's going on.
They had to do CPR for 9 minutes on the field.
Yeah.
9 minutes of CPR on the field. And just again, and Roger Goodell and them were going to treat that like it was the same as Tua's concussion, which was bad, for example, but he had all his vitals. They knew he had brain activity. They knew he was breathing, the whole shebang. When he left, they knew he wasn't going to die. They knew that.
And as far as the players, they knew. I know they weren't supposed. They're probably trying not to look, but they know exactly what's going on behind them.
Right. They see they're doing CPR, and they were going to have them play again. And that's when I say when they put in these safety measures, it's not for them. They do safety measures so that we will watch.
Yeah.
And that's the part that upsets me the most. The biggest game in the country, and they can't even have humanity towards because I tell you what, I don't tune in to see Goodell.
No.
I tune in to see Damar Hamlin make an interception, make a hit, whatever it might be. That's why I'm watching the game. But they don't give I just have to say, they don't care about the players. And that's the part that's just, to me, it's just sickening. Gene in Camp Hill, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yes, I'd like to discuss really Roger Goodell's role as a commissioner, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's only there as a commissioner at the pleasure of the owners,
mm-hmm.
okay, who have millions of dollars invested in their team.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm betting that he is not empowered to make a business decision, a significant business decision, which that was at that time, because NFL is big business.
Well, at some point, you got to value somebody's life over a football game, and if you can't do that as the commissioner, you shouldn't be there.
And Gene,
I'm not
you're probably
sure.
right, Gene.
I'm
You're
not
probably
sure
right.
It's all his fault.
Gene,
I bet it was at the owners who probably there wasn't consensus.
I understand.
Among the owners.
I understand what you're getting at. You're getting at that he needed to get the permission of he may have had the idea of, okay, we got to cancel this game, but now I have to get the approval from all these owners before I do it.
That's what I'm thinking of, because he's not in power. The commissioner.
Right, but G. The other thing is, though, the league was told by doctors in 1994 to have a protocol for a situation like this, to where you wouldn't have to go to any owners or anything like that. He hasn't done it.
You would think they have a protocol for this situation? I don't think they had a
No,
protocol.
They don't. No, they're right. But what I'm saying is they were told by an independent doctor, because I read it in the book. Now, I was thinking about a concussion. They were thinking about this happening only to be due to a head injury. And they were supposed to have 29 years ago a protocol, and they still don't have it.
Yeah.
And that,
I think that's unfortunate, because concussions are not treated that responsible.
Well,
but this situation was unique. It required an ultimate business decision.
Yeah, but you know what? I think
if
you're the commissioner, I think there's got to be a rule in place where, yes, I understand how this works with the owners, and they have a lot more power, and he's more just the voice of the owners. But when there is a tragic event, I want someone in control who can do it on his own and make the right decision, regardless of what the owners say. Like, you got to have someone in power who, when tragic happens and when there's a high-pressured moment and you need to make the decision where there's no time to make phone calls, there's no time for any of that. It's right there in the moment. Can you do the right thing? And Roger Goodell clearly can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I would trust Adam Silver making an in-moment situation, an in-moment decision in a current situation. I don't with Roger Goodell.
I don't think
and that's his job. That is his job. He is the commissioner. He's the one that should say, I don't give a damn about you owners. I am a human being, and I have feelings, and this is what we're going to do.
Right. And if the owners want to fire him, first of all, he's made $30 million a year for how long?
I think he's good, yeah.
I mean, at some point, he needs to stop being an empty suit and have a damn backbone.
What owner would be mad? Do you think Lori would be like, I can't believe Goodell stopped that? Like, the percentage of owners that would be mad in that
you talking about Jerry Jones, you talking maybe Irsay, you talking about Snyder in Washington, who's almost on the way out there going to sell the team. You're talking about a very small handful of jerks. Most human beings would be happy that for once he made a decision like a real boy, rather than a wooden Geppetto. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe he'd get more respect for doing it.
For once, having a backbone.
Let's say there's 20 million people watching that game. How many people thought that, after seeing what they saw, thought that game should go on?
You're talking about
6
maybe.
people?
I'm telling you, it's minimal.
The fraud over there at that one network, and like you talk about maybe 20 people.
Yeah,
total.
Out of 20 million.
Out of 20 million, about 20 people.
Exactly.
20 Neanderthal morons.
Yeah, my wife was on the other side of the couch, and she goes, what were they waiting for? Like, what more information do they possibly need?
How about being at the stadium? I would be sick to my stomach. I would have left. I would have been like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and then there was, my wife was all ready to go to bed early. I was like, no, I turned it on.
You can't after that.
After that, 1 a.m., we're still scrolling, looking at stuff. Is he going to be okay? Is there any word? We're finding doctors are going live on TikTok with diagrams and breaking down what they thought happened, like actual doctors, not these weirdos. Like, it just became a situation, like, nothing like that has ever happened in my lifetime. In my lifetime, nothing like that has ever happened. And there was no social media in 1971. So for that kind of situation, that's never happened before. 610-632-0975. Jerry, Mike, Todd. We'll get to everybody in the 3 o'clock hour coming up. We'll talk to Andrew Brandt, used to work in the front office for the Packers and is currently a professor at Villanova. We'll talk to him at 4 o'clock here on 97.5 The Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia.